Good Governance Afrika has launched its inaugural Governance Performance Index for municipalities. The index ranks each of the 8 metros separately and 205 local municipalities on a different list. KwaZulu-Natal, Limpopo and the Eastern Cape accounting for 15 of the bottom-ranked municipalities. Let's unpack more of this index for you. Stuart Mbanyele is a researcher at Good Governance Afrika and he joins us now via our video link in Pretoria. Stuart, it's great to have you with us on the program this morning. And I wonder whether this index, is it available, easily available for the ordinary voter who perhaps at this late stage is still undecided and would like to see how their own municipality has been delivering services over the past 5 years?
Good morning. Absolutely. The index is freely and easily accessible and available on our website. And I think at this crucial time, it's going to be a very important piece of information to help inform whatever decision that a voter who's skeptical or who needs a bit of certainty and assurance will be able to make. So it's really available on our website. And, yeah, easily accessible. Yeah,
because, you know, these elections, and we need to keep stressing the importance of a local government election because it is about those service delivery, bread and butter issues for voters. You know, these are the issues you're going to be considering as you go to the polls. Who is the party, who is the independent candidate that can help us achieve better service delivery where I live?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as opposed to national and provincial elections, these are elections that are concerned with immediate issues that you're confronted with as soon as you step out from your house. Yeah. So whether the refuse collected, whether the roads are functioning, whether you've got access to proper sanitation. So these are immediate concerns, and ultimately they have a bearing on people's day-to-day realities. So it's crucial that people step up and show up at the polls. Yeah.
So I want to unpack some of the, shall we call it, findings of this inaugural index from Good Governance Afrika. But before we get to unpacking the different metros, municipalities, what went into putting this index together?
I mean, a lot of work, a lot of reading, a lot of research and sort of thinking. But essentially it was concerned with evaluating key documents against key municipal documents and results from municipalities against key government documents from how they conduct their IT planning in contrast to how do they adhere to municipal finance management legislation, the prescripts of the Constitution and the white paper on local government. So we scored them across a range of indicators, whether they achieve clean audits, whether they meet their key IDP requirements, whether they whether they adhere to their financial management, and a whole range of indicators, which I'm sure will take the whole day to go through. Yeah. Essentially, that's that in a nutshell.
So shall we talk about some of the findings? Cape Town, as far as the metros are concerned, ranked number 1, eThekwini coming in last place.
Yeah, I mean, those are interesting findings. Ultimately, if we zone into the metros, we have sort of an understanding of the pivotal role they play as the economic heartbeat of the country. I mean, 4 in 10 people live in the metros, and collectively they account for about 246 billion rand in municipal finances, which constitutes the bulk of the country's finances. But yeah, Cape Town Metro ranked first, given the adherence to a number of criteria. However, there was some issues there as far as the allocation of resources, which has come up a lot in these elections, where you've got them allocating resources to particular subsections of society and areas as opposed to the neglect of others. And eThekwini, I think ultimately we've all witnessed the political upheavals that have been happening there, and that sort of has a bearing on council's effectiveness and by default the administrative capacity of the municipality.
Some interesting highlights, some interesting findings, particularly in Johannesburg, which we need to point out has had 4 mayors in the space of about 5 years. Tshwane, where the coalition collapsed, both having, according to the findings here, quite an interesting impact on how they were ranked.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the city of Johannesburg, as you correctly pointed out, has had four mayors, and that ultimately stems from the dynamics and the fluid nature of the coalition politics that we've witnessed in the city of Johannesburg over the last 5 years. And the same issue is the case with Tshwane. So that had a bearing on its key performances in terms of IDP processes, adherence to financial management legislations, and other sort of crucial aspects that it takes to inform the performance of municipalities.
I want to ask you a question about the 8 metropolitan councils, because it's so important to look at these rankings, because the metros are usually they are more populated than the rest of the country, and so it stands to reason you can sort of deduce that most of the country's voters come from key metros. Insofar as that's concerned, insofar as the metros are concerned, what can you tell us? What were the findings there?
I think, firstly, I'll start with the city of Cape Town. They performed well in as far as allocating resources. However, there's a high vacancy rate within the municipality, so that brought the score down. Then, interestingly, the city of Ekurhuleni, which has been the subject of many discussions as of late, performed well in as far as its audit outcomes for the past 3 years, but ultimately it didn't score well in as far as its planning capacity. So there's a lag in as far as its ability to have key IDP indicators and planning processes and adhere to those. Similarly, with the city of eThekwini, you've got a range of political challenges that sort of ultimately impact the level of service delivery within that municipality. Then the city of Johannesburg, I mean, the economic heartbeat of the country, where you had a range of these dynamics. But in as far as the rank, the city of Cape Town scored first. I think also it has to do with the allocation of resources and sort of the synergies between provincial and local government within that province. And interestingly, the city of Tshwane, I think the fact that it was placed on administration, then that was overturned, and the dynamics between the provincial levels of government and the local government that came into play, as we've witnessed over the last year, literally. So those are the dynamics that were considered in as far as obviously the calculations of the administrative and technical capacities and abilities and functions that those municipalities have to perform. So that's the thinking that sort of went into the scoring of the municipalities.
Yeah, it's very interesting indeed, because the city of Ekurhuleni in particular, it ranks second last. The ANC-led coalition there, in the run-up to these local government elections, has always claimed that service delivery has been at the top of its agenda and that it's had relatively good outcomes in most of Ekurhuleni. Can you dig a bit deeper into Ekurhuleni? Is that possible, to look into where some of the particular holes were that led it to being second last effectively on the list?
I think the issue with Ekurhuleni, as I previously mentioned, is the lack of adherence to sort of having key planning processes in place. So that sort of had a bearing on how the metro performed. And as we've seen in recent weeks, there was that public protector's report into the waste sort of removal scandal into the city. So that's one of some examples that illustrate that all might look good on paper and as far as adherence to audit outcomes. But then there are key issues and considerations that go into the effective functioning of the municipality. So I think the take-home lesson for Ekurhuleni and other metros is to prioritize key service delivery concerns across the board, key deliverables, have accountable political office bearers and solid administrative processes, and that ultimately inform efficient and effectiveness of governance at that level.
Stuart, before I let you go, for people who are watching and want to know how their municipalities rank, how do they go about getting this index?
So the index is live on our website, ggaafrica.org. It's freely accessible. It's at the top of the entry page. And you can also check out our social media pages. I mean, at Twitter, it's Good Governance Africa, and Facebook and LinkedIn. So that should be people should easily navigate those the website and the social media pages, and they should easily find the link to the document, which is packaged in a way that's informative and easy to go through for people.
Stuart Mbanyele, thanks very much indeed for such an incredibly informative discussion. He's a researcher at Good Governance Africa. If you'd like to know how your municipality ranks, you can go onto their website. It is ggAfrica.org. You can also go onto the social media pages of Good Governance Africa. Get in touch with that index and have a look and see how your municipality ranks compared to others. Perhaps if you are still undecided ahead of these elections.